Trail bosses, gunfighters, outlaws, mountain men, gamblers, and soiled doves. This is my discussion on 1883.
But if anybody here fancies himself a gunman, you're in the wrong town. There's only one killer in Fort Worth, and that's me.
What is all this shit?
Welcome to the Final Shot Saloon, everyone. If you just found the saloon, please subscribe. And if you've been a patron of the saloon for a while, give this video a like. I know it's late, and I know I'm a little behind, but we're going to talk about 1883. I know it's been out for a while. We're going to take a look at it. Written by Tyler Sheridan, who also wrote Hell or High Water, Wind River, Sicario, and, of course, Yellowstone, and some upcoming shows like The Four Sixes and Landman. He is also the showrunner. He also makes guest appearances on the show, like 1883 as Charles Goodnight. Filmed in Fort Worth, Texas, Weatherford, Texas, Granbury, Texas, Livingston, Montana, and Paradise Valley, Montana. That is our setting for 1883. The synopsis is: the post-Civil War generation of the Dutton family travels to Texas and joins a wagon train, undertaking the tough journey west to Oregon before settling in Montana to establish what would eventually become the Yellowstone Ranch. Let's get into it. The beginning of Yellowstone series takes place in 1883. We start our journey seeing a young girl waking up from being unconscious. And there's smoke, and she's crying, and there's the wagons are ablaze. We see she's obviously very tough. She's got an arrow in her gut. This is just our first glimpse into 1883. This is the opening scene. It's not holding back anything. Really, the first time we see Sam Elliott, he's crying. He's setting his house on fire because of his family has died. We see James Dutton. He's being shot out by outlaws. It's tough. It's the beginning is tough. The West, it's unwavering in its cruelty. This is just the first 10 minutes of 1883. There's not a lot of happy going on here. I think in a lot of other wagon train or adventure, whatever you want to call it, movies or series, it's always kind of happy. The excitement of going on the journey and, nothing's really going terribly wrong. 10 minutes, we're seeing death, sadness, and possibly another death. It's not what you thought was going to happen in the first 10 minutes. This series is narrated by Elsa Dutton, and the series mostly is looking through her eyes. It's a unique way to see this Western, or a Western. I don't think we've ever seen a Western told this way. We see her journey as an 18-year-old free-spirited female in the West. She's full of excitement and dreams. Of course, we see every parent's nightmare. She's growing up. She's falling in love. She's doing unmentionables with people in the high grass, and the mom happens to walk in on it. But we also see that she becomes mature. We see that she becomes one hell of a cowboy, and people start to respect her. The cowhands start to respect her. The trail boss starts to respect her. And I think her parents, even though it's very tough to let go when your kid becomes an adult, they see it. She becomes an adult very fast in this journey. She has love, she has death on personal levels, and she sees death constantly. That's what I love about the writing here. There's lots of emotions and chapters that we go through just in 10 episodes. I think in 10 episodes, we get what some Westerns just can't get through, even in, say, 5 seasons. So it's written well, it's edited well, it's directed well. Everything is just right in a row, and it keeps our interest. what I really like and what really drew me into 1883 is it hits on real life moments. The family dynamics, for sure. We're watching a Western adventure and we go through everything that it entails. But we also see James Dutton and Margaret Dutton go through how they both handle family matters. I mean, this 18-year-old girl's on her way. So we get to see that. I wouldn't say there's funny moments, but there's lighthearted moments between the two, James Dutton and Margaret Dutton, and it's much needed. It gets very heavy, very dramatic, and for a very long time. And if we didn't have those little moments, I think it would definitely, for me, it would drag on me. It would bring me down. We have the adventure of the wagon train, and then we have these light moments that really bring you in as a viewer, and you tend to get more engaged. You actually start believing, and which I believe is the writing and acting. It makes you feel, it feels real, and it's good. Let's talk about the characters here. James Dutton, played by Tim McGraw, was in the war, and what I think he saw was his whole battalion killed. He spent some time in a war prison. We see a kind moment between General George Meade, who is played by Tom Hanks, a little guest appearance. They sit together and look at all the carnage, and really, it's just a hand on a knee, and it says a lot. And it's got to be tough, through the battle of war. He's kind of a dreamer. He has one idea, and it's to get his family to wherever it is. He is a family man, and that's what matters to him. He wants to help these immigrants on the journey. He promised he would help, and he's doing that. I also think he understands that there's power in numbers, so that's why he kind of sticks with the party. There's definitely a special bond between Elsa and her father. You can see that he trusts her being on horseback with a pistol, with the other cowboys, and riding with the herd. One of the greatest scenes, I think, one of a couple of them, the scene where James confronts Ennis, Elsa's boyfriend, about taking her away. And he basically says, "You don't love her like I do. You better love her. You better cradle her like an egg." It's really just a warning. And look, fathers aren't made to like their daughter's boyfriend right off the get-go, or ever. I don't know. It's just how we're cut. And we see that James is a tough man. He tries to be a fair man, but he has one idea, and we don't know where he's headed, but wherever it is, he's gonna find it. I'd love to see Tim McGraw in a lot more Westerns. I think he pulls it off great. He's a good actor. Elsa Dutton is played by Isabel May, the daughter. As I said before, we see everything really through her eyes, and she narrates it. She falls in love with Ennis, her first love on the trail. We see in episode 5 during a gunfight. If you haven't seen it, stop, watch it, because I'm going to spoil some stuff. He gets killed by one of the bandits that attacks the train. It's a very tough scene to see, but we see Elsa, as the bandit is restrained, pumps about 4 or 5 shots into his chest, and it's kind of over from there. She mourns him for a very long time, until later, till she meets Sam. And apparently the West is very fast, and life is fast on the trail. So one of the best scenes I think I've probably ever seen is really the scene between her and the captain, Sam Elliott. After Ennis's death is amazing. He consoles her like a cowboy would. He's just straight, and he does tell her that we need the cowgirl she has become, and that kind of snaps her into it, and she goes in riding. We see that she is constantly mournful, during those episodes. As I said, everything moves fast, and there's no lot of lull time on this journey. So I think that's why everything kind of seemed a little quicker as far as the romance. But I will say it's really done well. Margaret Dutton, the wife of James Dutton, played by Faith Hill, does a great job bringing the family unit together. The dialogue between her and James, it felt real. I think we all have some of these conversations with our loved ones. I like the fact that they gave her kind of comical lines to lighten up the mood a little bit. A favorite scene of mine is definitely when she gets lit up with Caroline, a storekeeper played by Rita Wilson, Tom Hanks' wife. You see that she just needs to kind of let go, and it's a great scene. She actually falls over in the chair. Again, she holds everything together, in my opinion. And she really does follow her husband, which is a journey that is into the unknown, and she's just full-hearted love trust there. What I will say that I've had some conversations with friends before this started, and I was concerned that Tim McGraw and Faith Hill playing husband and wife wouldn't convey what is written or the emotions that might be written on the page. Not saying that they're bad actors. I'm just saying that they're husband and wife, and maybe it wasn't going to come through. Of course, then the show came out, and then I watched the show, and I saw a realistic portrayal of a husband and wife, with all the lighthearted moments and the serious moments when needed. If that makes sense. I think they did a fantastic job with it. The writers had real issues that they showed us. They both had to deal with some, and I mean, obviously we don't deal with a lot of the roughness of the trail, but there was some family stuff in there that we deal with today, and it brings you in again, makes the story, brings you into the story even more. Eric Nelson plays Ennis, a cowboy on the trail drive that Elsa falls for. There's some cute lines between the two. He takes a quick beating from James, like I kind of mentioned earlier, and he just won't back down. He professes his love to James, professes his love about Elsa to James, the dad. And it's a great scene. It's really, you can feel the father, when you're watching, you can definitely feel how that father's going through. The great Sam Elliott, Shea Brennan, Captain, suffers from PTSD, which really wasn't a term back in the Civil War days, but you see that he suffers from some of that. And basically, he's dealing with the best he can. And we start seeing, when we see at the start, he's burning his house after his family has died due to smallpox. Someday I'll learn how to talk. He's tough on the outside, but he suffers greatly in the inside. We actually see almost an attempted suicide if it wasn't for Thomas, his right-hand man. He has to deal with thieves in the camp, and he deals with them harshly and swiftly. He's just trying to get these people to Oregon, these immigrants to Oregon, and it's not an easy battle because they just don't know, right? We do see some clashing between James and the captain. They're both leaders. They both were captains, and they both have led people. And again, I will say that the moment that I think is really a special moment is between Elsa and the captain. I'm not going to ruin it for anybody, but the very end, last time we see Sam Elliott on the screen, is very tough. Don't watch it at work. LaMonica, I hope I'm saying that right, Garrett plays Thomas, captain's right-hand man. Really kind of the muscle of the two, it seems. He has a great heart, cares about the captain, and starts caring for a gypsy woman and her family. a sweet moment between the two, the gypsy woman and Thomas, is he buys her a silver mirror. Great written dialogue and great acted dialogue. And he always calls James Dutton a farmer, which I think is a slight insult at times. I'm not 100%, but it's still kind of comical. Martin Sessmeyer, Sam, a Comanche, helps the party out with outlaws and rustlers and finds a companion in Elsa after Ennis's death. He gives Elsa a name, Lightning Yellowhair, because her horse is fast and her blonde hair. They fall for each other, and one neat scene is he teaches her how to hunt, and they eat a bison heart. Apparently that's a date back in the prairie days. When she comes into camp with her face all covered in blood, and you can just tell the excitement on her face, and you can tell Mrs. Dutton knows she's gone. I don't mean like crazy gone. I just mean like she has no control anymore. He's a very kind individual, Sam is. He get a custom of giving a horse to James Dutton, and a cool scene was when they break the horse that he was given, and it was good. I liked Sam. I hope to see him in more stuff too. Special guests or spotlight guests. Billy Bob Thornton is Sheriff Jim Courtright. I kind of make it a joke with my friends. Johnny Tyler gets tough after getting smacked around by Wyatt Earp, and he becomes one of the coolest sheriffs I've ever seen on screen. He's a tough character, no nonsense, or is he just a brutal sheriff? Doesn't matter. It's one of the best lines in the show. And I think we need to revisit this character with kind of their Bass Reeves series that they're doing, these little small series. Love to see what Jim Courtright has had. I did do a little research on him because I wanted to know, what his deal was. He's also known as Long Hair Jim, Big Jim Courtright. He was an American deputy sheriff in Fort Worth, Texas from 1876 to 1879. In 1887, however, he was killed in a shootout with gambler and gunfighter Luke Short. There's definitely some magic to happen there on the screen, so let's get on it. So another character I gotta say is the Land. It's as much as character as the Duttons or anybody else that's part of this. We see that the river crossing, the river took out about half of the migrants without prejudice. The river, in its power, took plenty of families out, partially because some of them did not know how to swim because it was illegal in their country. We see a storm that comes through, which destroys the wagons and puts the migrants in disarray. They now some of them have to walk. They actually have to rebuild some of from the spare parts that are throughout the wreckage. They have to gather that up and make new wagons. Some of the animals, we have bison that are out there. We have a rattlesnake that bites a little girl in the beginning. I think it's actually probably the first death that we see. And I think that was really kind of to show that doesn't matter, young or old, the land is going to get you if you're not careful. And I think that's one thing that was kind of shown throughout this is you can't take the land for granted. The Land is a character, sometimes beautiful and majestic, and other times probably the worst bitch you ever laid your eyes on. And they portrayed that really, really well. The acting in 1883 was fantastic. I really couldn't find many flaws in it because I really enjoyed it. One thing that did stick out is they have the best oral hygiene, like on any wagon train I've ever seen. It does stick out a little bit, but you do get over it because there's other stuff going on that's just way up here compared. The cinematography, from shots with the rivers and the prairies to being part of gunfights, is excellent. The cinematography was really a huge part of the show. It really showed the beauty of the land, scenic and calming, yet full of death, really. And they show a lot of graves, beautiful mountains in the background, and prairies with graves with beautiful mountains in the background, and you have prairies with like bull skulls laying all over the place. It's just to show you that balance, and I liked it. The scene of all the immigrants' belongings out on the prairie because their wagons were too heavy. It's a beautiful scene. We see Elsa start playing the piano, and you hear the wind going through, and then you hear the sound of the piano keys actually moving and hitting the strings. Meanwhile, we're watching the carnage of the river taking the immigrants. It's haunting. Again, it's an adventure. It's probably the most realistic portrayal of a Western cattle drive I've ever seen, or wagon train. It's unwavering in how fragile we really are. Really, really done well. There have been other movies on wagon trains and cattle drives, of course. To me, this is really the best one depicting what it might really be like. It would be tough, dark, and beautiful all at the same time. I think other older movies water it down quite a bit. They kind of stay with the cookie cutter cowboys and Indians. Native Americans are usually the aggressors. And we see here that they helped some of the wagon trains. The only reason that they got attacked upon is because they actually followed from, I believe it was the Lakota, that they found that their camp was, everyone there was killed, mothers, children, grandmothers probably, and they were all killed, and they just followed the wagon train to where they were going. And I understand that. So, I mean, I like the way that they portrayed the Lakota, Crow, and Comanches in this. It wasn't what you would see probably even 10 years ago, maybe even 15 years ago. I appreciate what they did here. And because really, I don't care what race, religion, or nationality you are, we have assholes in every single one of them. And this is just a moment in time. I think it's a stitch in time of 4 to 6 months. So if you really think about it, I don't think, maybe some went through just fine. Maybe some got attacked by Indians, but we definitely saw that there was white men out there that were taking advantage of situations that, it happens today. It's in everything. Anyway, I had a discussion about that with some friends, and we kind of opened a can of worms. So is 1883 my favorite Western series? If you're a friend of mine, you know that I compare just about every single Western to Deadwood. I don't care if it's a 5-episode show, 10 episodes like this one, or series like seasons. And I actually compare it because of the good and the bad of Deadwood. It was awesome, and then it ended terribly. And really, I gotta say, this is truly neck and neck for me. I think I've always loved adventure, wagon train, the excursions, the expeditions type movies, and then I always kind of put myself in that position, like, could I do it? would I be tough enough to do it? Well, I'll be honest. I like running water, and I do like air conditioning. So maybe and maybe not. Especially when you don't know if you're ever going to get rest. So I don't know if I could do it, but I love living through the storytelling of these shows in 1883, as far as the adventure of the horseback and the gunfights and, you know, just all that kind of stuff. It's really a fun watch. I can tell you that there's I will rewatch this probably couple more times, just because I feel like I've caught something on my last two that I didn't catch before, whether it be tone in the dialogue or something in the background, or even to the horse crapping on screen. It's just, you always are seeing something, to me, new, and that's what makes it fun, and that's what makes the rewatch even easier. That's why it's on my top 10 favorite westerns, believe it or not. So tell me what you guys think. Is this on your top 10 westerns? This has kind of been my review, but I want to hear what you guys think. Is this ending up on your favorite western list? Is it something that you're gonna rewatch, or didn't you like it at all? Leave me some comments down below, and we'll chat about it on another episode at some point. I really appreciate you guys watching Gunfighters. It's always fun. I love talking about westerns, and especially ones that I just absolutely love. And I do love 1883. I'm sure I left some stuff out, but I want you, if you haven't watched it, watch it. If you have watched it, watch it again and let me know. Hey guys, it's the Final Shot Saloon, and it's closing time, people.